When we catch a rhinovirus, we often say, I caught a cold. But this can happen in the wintertime, this can happen in the summertime. The temperature really has nothing to do with it. Why do we still say, I caught a cold? The theory of the four humors. You see, this theory goes all the way back to the time of Aristotle and Hippocrates, when they believed that humans were made out of four liquids, or humors, that when they were out of balance, we became ill. Blood, black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm. When one of these humors, or when more than one of these humors were out of balance, you would become ill. And there was so much belief in the four humors that they believed that it would affect your disposition, your mood, your, like every aspect of your mental and physical health were determined your four humors. If you were high in blood, it was said that you were sanguine and you would have a rosy and a warm-hearted disposition. Now, why this talk about warm and cold? Well, it was believed that the four humors were correlated to what often were believed to be the four main forces that make up all of the universe, which is fire, water, earth, and wind. So they correlated those four main foundational elements of the universe with the four humors, and they decided, well, okay, so blood is warm and it's wet, and that means if you are high in blood, you need to get something that is cold and dry to help reduce that humor. The belief was that if you were out in the cold for too long, that would imbalance your humors. And since one of the humors required that you stay warm, if you got too cold, your humors would become imbalanced and you would catch a cold. And the belief that the common cold came from being cold has been part of our history for so long that we don't even, it would feel weird to call a cold something other than a cold. It's caused by a rhinovirus, but we would say, well, the common cold, and that's what's in all the medical literature. Now, this theory of the four humors dominated medicine for 2,500 years. And it's also the theory that led to bloodletting. If your humors were out of balance, then you needed to balance those humors. Galen, the physician to the Roman emperor, he was very well funded. He also had the ability to write and publish his work. And Galen believed that if you wanted to balance your humors, the best way to balance them was to let out some blood. So you see, it used to be believed that our arteries, of course our arteries, if you look at an artery, it'll appear blue. He discovered that, okay, wait a minute, actually there is blood in these arteries. It's not just the veins. And so that gave him a lot of street cred. He had all kinds of discoveries that turned out to be absolutely ridiculous, but it did lead to all kinds of changes and all kinds of advancements in bloodletting, and it made it so that it was a very ubiquitous practice. This affected a lot of history. In fact, George Washington, the first president of the United States, he came to his doctor late in his life complaining of a sore throat. And this was in the 1780s or 90s. And his doctor gave him a heroic dose, according to this source, of bloodletting. And it was reported that he drained like 40% of George Washington's blood out. Now they recorded it as him dying of a sore throat, but you know, being massively low on blood probably didn't help him either. Now you might say, wow, how is it that we could have been so stupid? How, you know, how did this happen? And the thing is, there were actually many good things that came from the belief in the four humors. Before the time of the four humors, it was believed that if you're sick, it was because you probably did something evil and an evil spirit entered you, and that's what made you sick. Upon the time of the four humors, physicians started to ask you for things like symptoms. This was when we started, that was the beginning of this. What have you been eating? What kind of air have you been breathing? What kind of physical exercise have you been doing? Physicians started to incorporate that into their practice. They said there must be natural reasons for illness. It's not just, you know, evil spirits making you fall ill. The belief in the four humors lasted 2,500 years. There's never been a philosophy of medicine that's ever compared to the length and the breadth of the belief in the four humors. It has affected the way we look at ourselves and the way that we speak about illness, even to the modern day. Still to this day, many people believe that simply being cold can cause you to fall ill. And this is the remnants of our heritage of the four humors. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Take a look at the links below. I would love to teach you more about how to train in the cold to become healthier, because the cold actually can be used to help us be healthier. Take a look at my ebook on how to train in the cold. It's called A Practical Guide to Cold Training. And don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another.